Hi guys, it's ASBYT and welcome back to a brand new video. Now of course the Samsung Galaxy S10, S10 Plus and S10e were all launched just over 2 weeks ago, and many people are claiming that this range of smartphones are going to be the best flagships of 2019. So in this video we're going to put that to the test. This is my Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus full review. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. Firstly, ladies and gents, I have a huge smartphone giveaway coming very soon, so make sure if you're interested in getting your hands on a brand new device that you are subscribed to the channel and you've turned on that notification bell so that when I post the information on that, you are notified. Also follow me on Twitter and Instagram because I'm going to be going into more detail on how you can win over on there as well. Now on the Unpacked launch day, I did release my hands-on first impressions video of the 3 different devices, the E, the Standard and the Plus model, so make sure you go and check that video out if you're interested. I'm going to be doing videos specifically on the E and the Standard as well, but in today's video we're of course talking about the Plus model. Now I mentioned all the boring specs in that video, but just to refresh your memory, let's get it out of the way. So in terms of the SoC, you're either going to have the in-house Exynos 9820 if you're in the Europe, I nearly said. If you're in Europe, for example, or of course you're going to have the Qualcomm Snapdragon 855, which is the latest and greatest from Qualcomm. We have different RAM variants available for the Plus, either 8GB or 12GB, and in terms of storage, 128GB, 512GB, or 1TB. If we add on top of that the ability to add a micro SD card, all your storage needs are going to be met. So in terms of initial performance, it's a dream to use. It's very fluid, it's quick. Some people argue with Samsung devices over time, people start to have problems a little bit with lag and stuff like that. And I can only go into that in more detail in a month, 3 months, 6 months use. And I will be doing videos on that, but I can only go off currently right now. It's been great. Kind of along those lines, it is running the latest Android 9 Pie. Of course, that's going to be outdated as soon as the next one rolls out, which we will see slightly later on in the year. Don't expect to get Android 10 straight away with Samsung devices. They generally have not a great track history of doing that. You'll probably get it in and around the launch of the Galaxy S11, believe it or not. So probably in and around January, February, March time, that's when they generally update the latest software for the older generation of smartphones. But currently, right now, it is the latest. And of course, over the top of Android 9, we have One UI, which is kind of skin over the top of Android 9. And now I have already been testing One UI on the Note 9, and I have to say it is the best software by far that Samsung have released. I can honestly say now I'm happy using it, don't really miss stock Android and don't really feel the need to put a launcher on it. Fluid, reliable and quick, with icons and menus that are clean and simple without being considered plain or boring. The icons are a touch toyish, that is being very picky. Now we're going to talk battery, and of course it has a 4100 mAh capacity, which is quite a significant bump up from the S9 Plus, which had a 3500 mAh capacity. This, in conjunction with the optimization of the Snapdragon 855, it really has made for great battery life. In the short time I've had it, I've got around 6-7 hours of screen on time. Some would argue it's still not quite as good as the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, which was released at the back end of last year, but it is a full day battery, something that I think it's always really needed, and often it's been one thing that's let the Galaxy S line down. The Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus also shares a similar technology in the form of reverse wireless charging. Now they have different names for what it's called, but basically it does the same thing. You can put another smartphone on top of the Galaxy S10 Plus when it's enabled and it will charge that device. Is it a bit of a gimmick? Yeah, probably, but it's still a feature you might enjoy. You can also charge, if you have them, your Galaxy earbuds. Now I have done a full review on these already as well. I did that a few days ago. Go and check that out if you're interested in some wireless earbuds. It of course has fast charging, it has wireless charging. So now let's jump onto my opinion of the design. Now in the hand, it feels probably today, if I can say it, I'm gonna say it, the nicest smartphone in my hand today. It feels awesome. The metal and glass sandwich, or ceramic if you went with the 512GB option. You also have the stainless steel, which wraps all the way around the outside, which is a slight difference from the sort of more matte finish that we saw again last year. I'm really digging it. I'm not gonna lie, I'm digging it. One thing I'm not digging is the placement of the power button. It is ridiculously too high, and I mentioned it on my review of the Note 9, which I thought was too high at the time. This is even higher. It just keeps rising. I don't really know what they're doing, but in my opinion, when I'm holding my smartphone and I've really got to slide my way all the way up to the top in order to reach it, I just think it's an odd positioning. I wouldn't say it would stop you buying the phone. Volume rocker up and down on the other side with the Bixby button as well, which for the first time ever is remappable. And this has pleased so many people. I'm not a massive hater of Bixby. Do I use it? No, not really. But you can, as long as you don't want to change it for Google Voice Assistant, Siri and the like, other voice assistants basically. At least Samsung have kind of listened. Right, so onto the display, we have of course the 6.4 inch Quad HD Plus dynamic AMOLED display, and it is best in class. Pretty much every year, the Galaxy devices have one of, if not the best displays on the market, and this is going to be no different. As far as I'm concerned, this will be the one to beat yet again. Forehead and chin have both been reduced this year as well. You'll get some people out there saying, there's still a chin, there's still a forehead. But come on, you've got to admit, it looks nice. Also, you've got the traditional edge-to-edge infinity display on this device as well. The palm rejection still could do with a little bit of work. It isn't flawless. There are occasions when I'm reaching across the screen and it will kind of catch it. I'm not really sure what they can do about that. It's not terrible, and it only happens, you know, a very few amount of times. But again, I just thought I'd let you know. One thing that's gonna, again, divide opinion is the punch hole cutout. Now, for me, it's one of those things that I've kind of got used to already, and I do prefer it to the notch, but it isn't ideal. And I also think that the single hole cutout looks far better than the double, and that might be one reason why you prefer to get the standard S10 as opposed to the S10 Plus. So let me know in the comments, are you a slider fan? Are you a motorized part fan? Are you a notch or a hole punch? Which one's best for you? That leads us nicely onto the cameras. So we'll start with the rear camera, and it's 3 different lenses. So the primary sensor is a 12 megapixel lens with dual aperture, which means it can go from f1.5 aperture to f2.4. Very similar, if not the same, as the S9. We also have a 12 megapixel telephoto lens with f2.4 aperture. And the main difference, of course, is that third lens, which is now a ultra wide angle lens, and it's 16 megapixels with f2.2 aperture, which is a great addition. I do love a wide angle lens. So from that, I'm sure you can get a rough idea of kind of where I feel the camera is on the Galaxy S10 Plus. It's a little bit disappointingly similar to last year's, and that's not to say that the last year's camera was terrible. It was a great camera, but outside of adding the wide angle lens, I don't think you're going to notice that much of a difference, and that's a little bit disappointing. And yes, you can still get some amazing photos with very sharp detail and vibrancy, great HDR capabilities, although some photos do still overexpose a little bit, and that is kind of a reoccurring theme with a fair few Samsung devices. Primary lens with its dual aperture is great for nighttime photography. Obviously, it can open to let in more light, for example, in low light situations, and you do get some great nighttime photography as a result. Now, if we flip to the front, it's kind of a similar story here as well. I do feel it has improved slightly from last year with some really nice natural skin tone colors, etc., especially when you compare it to the iPhone XS and XS Max, for example, which always make my face look like a beetroot. Far more natural colours for your selfies on this, and again, similar to pretty much most smartphones currently on the market, the edge detection isn't the best, but you can get, outside of some of those overexposed front-facing selfies, you can get some really nice sharp details in those front-facing shots. So overall, the camera has been bumped up, but it's not night and day. Speaking of night and day, let's talk about the changes to nighttime photography. See what I did there? The segue in there was just, come on. That was good. Basically, the updated software on this device means that when it reads that you are in low light situations, it will kind of AI enable a kind of night experience for you. It would be nice to have seen a dedicated night mode per se, like with the Google Pixel 3, for example, the Huawei Mate 20 Pro, OnePlus 6T, all of those devices. Does it help? Yeah, it does a little bit. Again, is it groundbreaking? No. So overall, it's a great camera. It's not an incredible camera. And I think with the constant improvements of the likes of the Google Pixel devices, the latest iPhones, and even some of those mid-range phones as well, I feel that Samsung have played it a little bit safe this year with the camera, and they could really have tried to excel themselves. We will see whether that makes a big difference to sales. From all accounts, the pre-orders did pretty well. Now, in terms of video, we once again have Ultra HD at 60 frames a second, and we have, of course, the industry-leading super slow-mo video back again. I will of course have a full camera review video coming very soon for this device, and I will be doing comparisons between this, the likes of the Google Pixel 3 XL, the iPhone XS Max, and the OnePlus 6T, smartphones like that. So make sure if you do want to see those videos, you are subscribed to the channel. Now, sound is very good again with its stereo speakers. It's got wireless charging. It's IP68 water and dust resistant. Still keeps the headphone jack as well. I know there are thousands of you that are over the moon about that. I think it's going to be the last year, so don't hold your breath for the Galaxy S11, but enjoy it while it's still here. So again, we're ticking into territory that we saw with the Galaxy Note 9 in the fact that it's a smartphone that's going to cover pretty much most areas, and you're not going to be disappointed necessarily with anything drastically because it kind of does it all. Another massive talked about feature is of course the in-display fingerprint sensor, but it's not like anything we've seen today. It is the ultrasonic 3D version, which is far more secure than the optical sensors we've seen in other smartphone devices up till now. So one major benefit of the ultrasonic fingerprint sensor is the fact that it doesn't need to shine that horrendous light up out of the screen to read your finger. So unlocking your phone at night time is a lot better on the eyes, because that was like One, we don't have that. We know it's now more secure as well, but also it means we can use it when the screen is wet, for example. Again, something that if you've got an optical sensor, it struggles because the light rays come up and it hits the water, refracts. Now we're talking about physics in a video. What's happening? Either way, whatever it's called, you're not going to get that problem with the S10. So overall, what are my first impressions of using the Galaxy S10 Plus in terms of design and build quality, the display, the battery life, the hardware internals, all of the features? It's going to be right at the top of the class for all of the major smartphone areas in 2019. But the one place where I feel it's slightly let down this year, the cameras. It's a little bit disappointingly similar to last year's, but based on the fact this is now the next generation, and we are going to see the next generation from companies like Google, Apple, I feel once those devices come out, people might look back at the Galaxy S10 and just feel that Samsung missed a trick. Could be wrong, and I'm not saying the camera's bad, it is still an amazing camera. I just don't think it's going to be the best this year. But for everything else, this little puppy is probably going to be your man, or woman, or horse. Here's where you guys come in. Let me know in the comment section below what you think about the Samsung Galaxy S10 Plus. Is it the smartphone that you're going to buy? Have you bought it? What do you think? Do you prefer one of the other in the range, the regular S10 or the S10e, or another smartphone manufacturer altogether? Remember, I will be running a massive smartphone giveaway in the very near future, so if you want all of the information on that, make sure you are subscribed to the channel, turn on the notification bell, and follow me on Twitter and Instagram, because I will be updating on how you can enter. Like and share if you did enjoy this video and found it helpful, and I love you and leave you. I'll see you in the next one. Says BLT. Peace out.